We have some major breaking news to cover, and as always, we have zero time to waste. We just learned that B-2 bombers are being deployed across the Pacific Ocean, and Trump is scheduled to return to the White House as he considers the strike on Iran. We are entering a unique period of acute military and diplomatic tension, and Donald Trump is wishy-washy. He's indecisive. And, we do have a lot of ground to cover. There are a lot of stories that I want to go through. If you're watching this after the live happened, which is totally fine, I'm happy to have you, make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe below to the Mockler channel. We are building a Gen Z news network, and we need you to be here. So let's get started with the news of the day. How is everybody doing? Let me know in the comment section below. What are we? 1 week out from the No Kings protests exactly. They happened on June 14th. I'm recording this on June 21st. And I know that a lot of you were at the No Kings protests. We'll talk about that. There's a lot that I want to talk about. But just for the main headline before we dig in, the U.S. has deployed B-2 bombers as Trump plans to meet his national security team. Yo, how is everybody doing? I see everybody coming in chat right now. You all are the best. We have the best fan base here. We're able to have a lot of open-minded research streams, and that's what I appreciate. With a lot of these streams, we have a lot of dense information, but we're also learning stuff as we go. Last time we did a whole research on the constitutional clause that says Congress is necessary to go to war, not the president. But this time, let's dig in here. The planes can carry bombs capable of striking an underground nuclear facility in Iran if President Trump decides to join the conflict. Now, let me say, this is not something that you do simply as a general training exercise, but it could be posturing or getting ready or just trying to escalate tensions without ever actually striking. We don't know if Trump will actually strike. I personally think he's just going to try to posture because that's what he does. Then he chickens out. But even in doing so, you have to understand how bad of a look this is. We cannot let it go unsaid. I know people are saying this, but we cannot let it go unsaid. First of all, this wouldn't have happened if Kamala Harris were the president. She wouldn't get dog-walked by Netanyahu after ending the deal. Just keep in mind, Trump ended the Iran nuclear deal that allowed Iran to hypothetically increase their nuclear capabilities and lead to this war. Again, this never would have happened if Kamala Harris were the president. And now that it is happening, Trump has no control over it. He's getting completely dog-walked, and he, within 24 hours, switched from the no new wars president, or that wouldn't have happened if I were president, to it's happening, I am the president, I can't do anything. Every 24 hours that goes past just shows how, dysfunctional I am. Just absolutely neutered. That's the word. Trump is neutered. The planes can carry bombs capable of striking underground facilities, and multiple U.S. Air Force B-2 bombers are heading across the Pacific Ocean at this current moment. And the B-2 stealth bomber is the one that Trump is always referring to. He thinks that a lot of these stealth bombers are legitimately invisible because they just have stealth in the name, but it can fly 6,000 nautical miles without needing to refuel, so it can go all the way across an ocean and hit a target in another continent in one go. And if it refuels once in the air, it can go to 10,000 miles. It's really impressive technology, but Trump is now mobilizing it to just help Israel's needs, which air traffic control communications indicated that several B-2 aircraft, the plane that could be equipped to carry the 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs that Trump is considering deploying against Iran's underground facilities, it is now taken off. They've taken off. And just for some straight-up analysis, this could be for a few reasons. Trump could be planning to strike. I currently think he's indecisive and he doesn't know. He could also be posturing. I would not say it's a training exercise. There's no reality in which they're doing a training exercise. He could very well be posturing or trying to escalate or trying to scare them. Pamela, I appreciate this a lot. The B-2 flights were initially tracked on social media before 1 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday. Some flight trackers said on social media that the destination of the aircraft is Guam, U.S. territory, which has several military installations. The bombers appear to be accompanied by refueling tanks. Moving planes does not mean a final decision has been made about whether to strike, and that's the point I was trying to make. There hasn't been a final decision, but this is important to cover because it is an escalatory step forward in this entire process. Now, I want to revisit this as we get more and more breaking news because there are more stories coming out. But there are a few other things that I want to cover as well. There are a few other stories that I want to wrap through. I want to show you Democratic Representative Ro Khanna explaining why the big ugly bill is terrible. Just listen to this. This is a cool moment because this reached millions of people. Make sure you drop a like on the stream. And I love having you all here.
But I do know some things. I know this, that I'll say this. This is in that big, beautiful bill. And I don't know everything that's in it, but this is one thing that really stood out to me. And I asked JD about this. It says, for a full 10 years after enactment, no U.S. state or locality may enforce any law or regulation that limits, restricts, or otherwise regulates artificial intelligence models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems entered into interstate commerce. Only laws encouraging use or deployment of AI are excluded. That means that you won't have any legal recourse against a machine.
Yeah, basically, like, you know how you said you want hands on a wheel?
Yeah.
If now a state wants to pass a law saying you got to have a truck driver on a truck, you can't do that. If a state wants to pass a law saying you can't have an algorithm in social media that gets young girls addicted to content that makes them more likely to have eating disorders, can't do that.
So it's just going to be federal have the only...
Federal will be the only one. And you know what's...
Guy, do you not see how crazy... Do you not see what is at the gates?
And by the way, you're not going to get federal legislation because the way you get federal legislation in this country is when you get a bunch of states that pass legislation, then you get the industry coming to the federal government saying, oh, there are too many state laws.
Somebody is asking who these people are. This is Representative Ro Khanna. And this is Theo Vaughn, a comedian who's relatively popular among people in my generation. You know, he supported Trump throughout the election, and now he's kind of, you know, in this clip at least,
addicted to content that makes them more likely to have eating disorders.
I mean, this man platforms MAGA through and through relentlessly, so it's very nice seeing Ro Khanna coming on and spreading facts.
That gets young girls addicted to content that makes them more likely to have eating disorders. Can't do that.
So it's just going to be federal have the only...
Federal will be the only one. And you know what's...
Guy, do you not see how crazy... Do you not see what is at the gates?
And by the way, you're not going to get federal legislation because the way you get federal legislation in this country is when you get a bunch of states that pass legislation, then you get the industry coming to the federal government saying, oh, there are too many state laws. Can you just get one federal standard? But if you don't have the state laws, you're never going to have industry coming saying, let's get a federal standard. So it's basically like, let's have AI just develop. And that is the problem, right? There's the beautiful AI vision of how your nephews could learn this and build wealth, and we could have some people in one generation have economic security. And then there's the dystopian AI vision where big government and big companies control our data, are making decisions based on what predictive algorithms are telling about us, where we lose control to machines.
Very well said. Yo, thank you, Michael. And thank you, Paul. You guys are the best. Always happy to support you. Peace and love from the UK. How you doing in the UK over there across the pond? It's probably a little bit wild to watch everything going on in the United States, but at least we have some Democrats like Ro Khanna. At least we have people like the Dodgers. Have you guys heard this story of the Dodgers pushing back? Thank you guys so much. Mama Gail, you guys are the best. Someone said they couldn't hear me a second ago. Is my audio sounding fine now? Let me know if my audio sounds okay. But, you know, the point is here, even beyond the big, beautiful bill overreaching with states' rights, and that being a really good talking point with MAGA, there's also the on-the-ground effects. The on-the-ground effects of wealth redistribution. When you provide tax cuts for the richest of the rich, you need to make up for that lost revenue somehow, so they're cutting programs for the most vulnerable. Audio is good. All right, sounds great. You guys are the best. So right here, we got Dodgers pledging aid to LA families affected by Trump crackdown. This comes off the back of the LA Dodgers denying ICE entry from their parking lot when ICE was trying to do a raid. Pressed by Angelenos, including a large Latino fan base, the Dodgers promised support but stopped short of denouncing ICE raids. They didn't denounce the raids. They should. The Los Angeles Dodgers, facing mounting pressure from their Latino fan base, announced on Friday that they had committed $1 million in financial help for families of immigrants who have been impacted by recent events in the region. Maybe we should do a charity stream at some point for this. We've been doing a lot of live streams lately and kind of building up the groundwork for it, but maybe we start using the live streams to do like 12-hour charity events or something. I think that would be a good use heading into the midterms. We have politicians roll through. We have people debates. We talk about the issues and do research. That would be solid, all while raising money. The announcement, while oblique on exactly which, quote, recent events the team was responding to, came after days of calls from community leaders and fans to signal support for its heavily Latino fan base. The point is, when institutions begin to fail and when the executive branch is weaponized against the people, it kind of takes individual, either companies or individuals like us to be standing up. Somebody that I always refer to is Jerome Powell. Like Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, is always giving these speeches. And in the speeches, he will relentlessly state over and over that he is independent. He doesn't care what the president says. The law says the president can't do anything. And that's really powerful when you have Jerome Powell standing up like that. I want to play this clip really quickly. It reads, upsetting video of a boy in Gaza saying they have to eat sand because they have no food. They walked 8 hours to a food distribution point and collected 2 kilos of flour, but were then robbed by thieves. This got 1 million views overnight.
Mohammed Al-Darbi is 12 years old. He has a message for the world.
يعطيك العافية، احنا عندنا في غزة في شطحين، احنا 24 ساعة كل يوم بيقولوا لنا في مقاطير واحنا بنروح ما بنلاقيش المقاطير.
He says we have no flour. Every 24 hours they tell us trucks are coming and we come to find nothing.
احنا الرمل هذا ناكل في الشاكل عندنا، بدنا طعيم في الشاكل. حرام عليكم ارحموا في الشاكل عندنا. الرمل بناكل من الخبز. حرام عليكم ارحموا الرمل بناكل بدل رغيف الخبز. رغيف الخبز ريال 21 شيكل رغيف الكبدة.
Mohammed walked 8 hours with his father to a flour distribution point in Gaza City. He finally collected 2 kilos of flour, but thieves attacked him and stole it.
الصحفي بيصور في الناس.
He says, I saw the journalist filming and I asked him to pass on my message to the world that I was robbed and I ate sand because I had no flour and I was so depressed. Mohammed's mother says she uses old dried bread used for animal feed, soaks it with water and bakes it over and over to feed her children. His father says people are killing each other over a bag of flour. 5 or 6 individuals attack each other because people want to eat, and they have become monsters due to the lack of food. Mohammed and his family, only 2 of tens of thousands of starved Palestinians, risking their lives to feed their families. Dozens have been killed by Israeli fire this week as they waited for aid. Hundreds since Israel lifted an 11-week blockade on Gaza in late May, allowing a trickle of aid in, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health. The Israeli military says it operates to minimize harm to those seeking aid while maintaining the safety of its troops. The United Nations warns the entire population of Gaza, more than 2 million people, face impending famine without a drastic increase in aid. Paula Hancock's CNN, Abu Dhabi.
And I'm on.
Yeah, I mean, that clip went viral overnight and obviously incredibly heartbreaking. While all this is happening, while this aired on CNN, to talk a little bit about domestic news, Trump went golfing in his Bedminster, New Jersey golf course and began to call for fewer holidays, fewer days off work for U.S. workers. Just to start here, he said on June 19th, Donald Trump very, very intentionally tweeted out, quote, too many non-working holidays in America. It is costing our country billions of dollars to keep all of these businesses closed. The workers don't want it either. Soon, we'll end up having a holiday for every one working day of the year. It must change if we're going to make America great again. But the thing is, the United States, compared to almost any other developed country in the world, has way less working days. Way less working days than any other developed country in the world. So while Donald Trump is tweeting this out, he is delaying the war in Iran, which we don't want him to start a war, but he is delaying any decision-making, I should say. He's not making any decision, which is kind of showing a lot of weakness. He's delaying decision-making to go golf while complaining that there are too many non-working holidays in America. Just say like you're racist at that point, bro. If it's Juneteenth and you're specifically complaining on Juneteenth, the day the slaves were liberated, it's a little bit suspicious. Didn't know golfing counts as working. Exactly. Trump calls for fewer holidays, urging Americans to work harder after spending 22% of his second term golfing. Trump broke his deafening silence on Thursday evening regarding the federal holiday Juneteenth, which celebrates the end of slavery in the U.S. by writing a post. He wrote a post on social media saying we need fewer non-working holidays. The strategically timed complaint comes as a sharp about-face from his previous stance on the holiday, which he praised every year and said, when one said he made himself very famous, he says he's better than like Lincoln, whatever he says. The call for fewer federal holidays contrasts with his own behavior while in office because he's been golfing for 22% of his presidency. Keep in mind, he's done like 8% of his daily presidential briefings, the briefings that keep him informed on issues across the globe. And then, off the back of that, Donald Trump delays making any substantive decision regarding the Middle East, which is overall just a display of weakness. By the way, thank you all for joining the stream. I really appreciate it. We do have the best community here. We've been building the foundation for these live streams, and I think this summer we'll do live streams every single day. You know, just chatting, chilling. How's everybody doing today? If you want to help boost this, make sure you drop a like. Sometimes YouTube can be weird about boosting things. This YouTube kid talking about this subject is wild to me. What subject? We go 7 days a week, baby. Too many non-working holidays. The president of the United States takes more time off than me. Of course, I don't know. Of course, I'm privileged to have my job. That's because of you all. That's because I love you all. Breaking. Trump complains there are too many holidays on Juneteenth. A holiday he didn't make, but once bragged that he made, quote, very famous. And the thing is, what I want to continue doing is pushing the fact that other countries treat their workers way better. I mean, as we continue to grow this platform, I think we're going to continue to push the idea that in America, we should at least have holidays matching other developed countries. Do we have any people in Germany in the chat? Or we had somebody in UK. In the chat. I'm pretty sure UK is the rules in all these other countries are way more beneficial for the worker. In the United States, we're kind of uniquely cutthroat with our capitalism. Which I think capitalism has its benefits, of course, but we're uniquely cutthroat. But let's continue here. Before we talk about the B-2 bombers that were deployed, there are a few different things I want to touch on there. I want to talk about Elon Musk crashing the hell out on a top Trump aide and accusing him of a federal crime. Elon Musk accused one of President Trump's top aides of committing a federal crime. Weeks after the epic breakup between the president and the world's richest man, Musk has continued to snipe at Sergio Gore, the director of the Presidential Personnel Office, and that's because Sergio Gore doesn't even have the proper security clearances to be doing this job. We've got Denmark. Ooh, I know in Denmark you guys have a lot of workers' benefits the United States doesn't have. Trump is very mad about Juneteenth. Aloha from Hawaii. All right, to continue. Breaking. Sergio Gore, director of White House Presidential Personnel Office, is using legal intimidation to demand that we remove our citations of news articles questioning his background. And he's allegedly not even cleared to be doing what he's doing. Sergio Gore has refused to submit the SF-86 form required for background investigation for security clearance adjudication. Holland, 40 to 60-day vacation. The UK has unemployment benefits that are way better than the United States. France has more days off, which proves to be more productive. Canada has more holidays and overall workers' rights. I'm hearing from people in the chat right now. Yeah, the overall point regarding workers' rights is that the United States is like uniquely cutthroat in the way that we treat our workers. And one of the only reasons that we have 5-day work weeks is because of unions. Canada is a dream country compared to the US. I mean, yeah, Canada has problems too. No country is going to be like perfect, a utopia. But I mean, there are benefits to both. At least Canada has Mark Carney. Oh God, yeah. Having Mark Carney is a utopia compared to the orange fuck that we have. All right, to continue. Sergio Gore and Elon Musk are escalating their beef, and this is one we want to pay attention to. Listen to this. Weeks after the epic breakup, Elon Musk is now attacking Sergio Gore. Finland has a lot of benefits. Japan isn't such a great working environment. Okay, we don't have to compare ourselves to Japan. Maybe that's not the standard. Japan is also ridiculously, like it's like a monolith race-wise. It's not very diverse. The United States is weakly diverse. I do like living in Maine. Yeah, Maine's probably a beautiful state. Yeah. I love living in Chicago, y'all. Chicago, do we have any Chicago people in the chat? It's my favorite. It is uniquely hot across the Midwest today. Holy shit. Anybody in the Midwest out there staying hydrated? All right, to continue. Gore is breaking the law, Musk said. He had deliberately lied about where he was born on federal forms, and that's a serious crime. The Daily Beast reached out to the White House about Musk's latest comment, which came in a response to a series of posts by Ukraine-born American race car driver Igor Shushko, accusing Gore of being a Russian spy. Popsy is in Chicago. Chicago is incredibly hot. All right, time to focus in on the Russian asset that could be in the White House. Sergio Gore claims to have been born in Malta, but the Maltese government has no such birth record. People who knew him in Malta called him the Russian boy. Elon Musk then replies, he deliberately lied about where he was born on federal forms. That's a serious crime. This isn't a good look for Elon Musk either, right? Elon Musk is in this admitting that he helped elect not only the pedophile that he admitted was in the Epstein files, but also he said that Sergio Gore is like committing federal crimes, is breaking federal laws, meaning he helped elect the pedophile in his criminal cabinet. Bro, that's not a good look for you. Underpinning Musk's accusation is a long-standing rift with Gore, who says the 38-year-old fueled his spectacular falling out with Trump earlier this month. Things got particularly messy when Gore encouraged Trump to rescind his nomination for Jared Isaacman, Musk's personal friend. You guys know this is how the drama broke out, right? Jared Isaacman, one of Musk's best friends, was supposed to be the NASA director. Trump nuked him because Sergio Gore told him to. This dude, it's like Game of Thrones here. They're literally playing Game of Thrones in the White House, where Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, is being knocked off the pedestal by Sergio Gore. What in the house of cards is going on here? And you know, we're 20 minutes in. This brings me to one of the headline stories that I kind of wanted to dig into a little bit deeper, because we're currently seeing the U.S. deploy B-2 bombers across the Pacific as Donald Trump returns to the White House from his golfing. Let's break down this entire story. Let's see if we can hit 5,000 likes on the stream. I love these streams that we're doing, especially on these hot summer days. I just went on a walk. I came in and I was like, let's go live. Okay, again, we'll start here. Donald Trump calls for fewer worker holidays on Truth Social. He's clearly trolling. And guys, look at the responses of Trump's Truth Social. When he says, too many non-working holidays in America, it is costing our country billions of dollars to keep all of these businesses closed. The workers don't want it either. Soon, we'll end up having a holiday every once working day of the year. Look at some of the replies here. Maybe you should consider the fact that the American workforce is not taken care of. We are tired of the 60 to 80 hours a week. We are tired of raising our children in dual-income homes. Mothers barely get maternity leave. Fathers barely get to bond with their newborns. We are struggling. Exactly. You can have an incredibly productive society. You can have a uniquely productive society while not treating your workers like shit. You lost me here. Americans are already overworked and in many cases underpaid. I mean, this is the Trump supporter. They said you lost me here. Imagine thinking Americans who work more hours per week and more days of the year than Europeans and folks in Latin America aren't working enough. Tone deaf AF. Did you vote for that? These are people talking to Trump. How about you fuck off, someone said. Sorry, excuse my language. I just had to get that out. I've supported you and defended you for over 10 years. You have done nothing but lie and not done anything you said you were going to do during your campaign. Some people bust their ass and have real jobs and enjoy the days off. We don't need to spend 6 days a week working 10 to 12-hour shifts to have one day to enjoy our family and our personal time. Kick rocks. I'm about done supporting you, says this Trump supporter. Damn, those are some harsh words. Now MAGA's eating him alive. This is like the infighting. Oh my Lord, the infighting. Thank you, Lisa. You are the best for the membership. Adam, says Jen, thank you for the donation. Adam, we know about Juneteenth and the rest of the world. America's racism and continued fight for slavery is well known worldwide, even after the world said no to it. Hiding that history is awful. We do have a large portion of the country is fighting back, I will say. We do have like the beautiful people in this chat. But thank you guys for the membership. And yes, unfortunately, there's some deeply systemic problems within the U.S., and I always try to draw that distinction. When we say systemic racism, we don't mean that there are active laws on the books that say black people can't do this. A lot of the laws, were dissipated during the civil rights era, but systemic racism is the downstream effects from slavery, from redlining laws. Redlining laws were on the books when my grandparents were growing up. That's barely any time ago. So there are direct downstream effects. And even today, without there being direct laws, you can see there are studies from the ACLU showing that black Americans and white Americans smoke marijuana at roughly the same rate, the exact same rate. But black Americans are arrested, charged, and convicted at a 4 times higher rate just due to judicial bias or individual bias on behalf of the cops. So we're not saying that there's current laws saying black Americans can't get loans. Not currently, but 60 years ago, yeah. And there are definitely downstream effects from that. Someone said this kid is ADHD. I definitely get off track a lot, but to be fair, we're talking about Juneteenth. We're talking about Trump golfing on Juneteenth while the war is breaking out. So, Trump's complaining about non-working holidays. Trump is golfing on Juneteenth. And, his supporters are really pissed at him and saying, American workers work their asses off. They deserve a break. So while his supporters are getting mad at him, he's escalating the war. He's deploying B-2 bombers. While people who work their ass off see the president of the United States golfing and demeaning them, he is then messing up the No New War faction. U.S. deploys B-2 bombers. This is what I wanted to jump in on a little bit deeper. The planes can carry bombs capable of striking an underground nuclear facility in Iran if President Trump decides to join the fight. And one more time, the B-2 stealth bombers, I'm pretty sure Trump is actually convinced that they're invisible in the sky, but they can go about 6,000 miles without refueling, and that's why they're often used. They can go across continent, do their strikes, and oftentimes come back without even refueling once. Someone said, will we drop a nuke? I highly, highly doubt it. I wouldn't be talking like that. No. I don't think, there's a lot of escalatory language going around, but you have to be able to differentiate the escalatory language and the actions like this with you have to be able to differentiate posturing versus actual escalation. This is actual escalation, but I don't see, yeah. Sorno, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Nathan. But to continue here. Multiple U.S. Air Force B-2 bombers appear to be airborne and heading west from the United States across the Pacific, and President Trump at the same time left his New Jersey golf club to return to the White House. I wasn't lying, y'all. This dude was golfing while mobilizing our B-2 bombers. That's why I was talking about that. He was literally golfing. This isn't something you do as a general training exercise, but again, you can sometimes differentiate between posturing and an actual imminent strike. This is not an imminent strike because the president of the United States is uniquely indecisive. He just can't make up his mind. He's kind of a chicken. We should come up with a phrase for that. The fact that Trump is a chicken. There should be a catchphrase for that. Air traffic control communications indicated that several B-2 aircraft, the planes that could be equipped to carry the 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs, that Trump is considering deploying against Iran, has taken off from the Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. The B-2 flights were initially tracked on social media before 1 a.m. Additional Air Force F-22, F-16, and F-35 fighter jets have crossed Europe and are now at bases in the Middle East. How much is this clown show costing? Somebody in chat asks. That's a good question. It's costing a lot of money under the guise of efficiency. We have a Discord. It should be in the description. Moving planes does not mean a final decision has been made about whether to strike. And that's an important distinction again. Trump never makes his final decision. What he does do is just endlessly rant on Truth Social. Very quickly to hop back, he said 2 hours ago, I hate, quote, green tax credits in the great big beautiful bill, he calls it, even though it's big, costly, and ugly. And by the way, isn't this your bill? They are largely a giant scam. I would much prefer that this money be used somewhere else, including reductions. Anywhere would be preferable. Windmills and the rest of this junk are the most expensive, inefficient energy in the world. Is Trump beefing with his own bill? I mean, the charitable interpretation, not that we should be charitable, but the interpretation is that the green tax credits are something that House Democrats put in, but House Republicans voted for it as well. Trump lobbied for House Republicans to vote for these green tax credits. What are you talking about? Someone says, why would Trump launch the B-2 bombers if action isn't imminent? It's a good point. An action could be imminent, but Trump is also indecisive and tries to posture a lot. Like half of the shit that Trump does is just bravado, or if you want to call it that, or just posturing. So it's not too uncommon for the United States to move a bunch of military equipment to the Middle East without actually carrying it out, just to posture and be escalatory in its nature. It's still bad. It's still not anti-war. It's like incredibly pro-war and neo-conny, but love from Germany? Hell yeah. Hope everyone in Germany is doing great, in Europe. Sorry, long day. I hope everyone in Europe is doing well, especially Germany. He says, I hate green tax credits. They are largely a scam. Bro's calling his own bill a scam. Stormfire, thank you so much for the membership. Y'all are great. Anywhere could be preferable. Windmills and the rest of this junk are the most expensive and inefficient energy in the world, he says, as he's being paid by big oil. He then sent out 3 incredibly erratic Truth Social posts in a row. The first one attacks Jessica Tarloff. He says, why does Fox News allowed failed TV personality Jessica Tarloff to soil the 5? Her voice, her manner, above all else, what she says are a disgrace to television. I've had the best poll numbers that I've ever had, he says. Honestly, F all this. You guys want some big breaking news? We have some big breaking news, and this is worth watching. We have some big breaking news that I want to talk to you guys about.
Thank you, everyone.
Mahmoud Khalil was just released, the pro-Palestinian activist who was arrested. And listen, no matter how you feel about the conflict, I know it can be divisive, no matter how you feel, we should not be locking people up for their views. If we were locking people up for having different types of views, then like every Trump supporter would be in jail.
Well, first and foremost, I think we speak on behalf of so many people across this country, across the state of New York, but also across so many communities in the United States, and welcoming Mahmoud home to be here and to be reunited with his wife and his newborn son.
Wife and newborn son. And I see Chris Turner in the chat said he needs to be deported. Chris Turner, can you give an actual reason, or are you just going to troll in chat? I would love to see you give a real reason, because it would be inherently authoritarian. You just don't like the First Amendment, the ability to have the ability to like assemble, have your expressions heard.
Mahmoud Khalil was imprisoned for 104 days by this administration, by the Trump administration, with no grounds and for political reasons.
Chris Turner, that's not a reason. He's here on a visa. That's not a reason. You're just stating something.
Because Mahmoud Khalil is an advocate for Palestinian human rights, he has been accused baselessly of horrific allegations simply because the Trump administration and our overall establishment disagrees with his political speech. This was a
and he also holds a green card. Thank you. Yeah. Mahmoud Khalil has a green card, number one. Number two, having a green card means you came through the proper processes, which is what you guys want. Number three, even if I were to say, even if you were to imagine that I disagree with Mahmoud Khalil as much as absolute possible, even if I were to say I vehemently disagree with him, you shouldn't want somebody you disagree with to be put in jail for 100 days just because you disagree with them. They just be yapping. Yeah, where'd this dude go? Chris Turner in chat. If you want somebody to go to jail for supporting something that you deem extremist, what happens when the next Democratic administration begins to throw every single Proud Boy in jail, every single January 6er in jail, which they should be, by the way, and honestly, most Proud Boys should be too, if you're going to be a political extremist like that and actually stir up controversy. Would I ever run in politics? No.
His detention by ICE, being taken from his home, as well as other advocates, Ms. Ozturk in Boston, Massachusetts, ripped off of the street, being taken is wrong. It is illegal. It is a violation of his First Amendment rights. It is an affront to every American, and we will not allow, and we will continue to resist the politicization.
Yeah, Chris Turner, if people were getting jailed for having stupid opinions in your reality, then you'd have been in jail for like years, brother.
And the continued political persecution that ICE is engaged in. And so we welcome Mahmoud home. We will continue to support. I also want to thank the incredible work of CCR, the ACLU, IMEU, and many other advocacy organizations, the lawyers and organizers on the ground who have supported his family. And I have to, of course, thank my staff in office, Noreen Akhtar, who has done so much incredible work as well in ensuring that Mahmoud gets the justice and dignity that he deserves. And so right now we hope that, and we wish for Mahmoud and his family to be able to enjoy some peace after an incredible...
See, here's the problem, Chris Turner. Okay, genuinely, I'm going to explain the problem in good faith. I don't think it's right for people to come here and be anti-American. The problem is when you arbitrarily, or when you just kind of, when you say anti-American, that doesn't have a real definition. Because if the current administration thinks Mahmoud Khalil is anti-American, it's a very, very slippery slope. What if the next administration comes in and they think that anti-American is something very, very different? What if the next Democratic administration thinks anti-American means you don't like ice cream or you just don't like Donald Trump, right? What if that's the next Democratic administration's definition and they deport everybody who doesn't like Donald Trump? You can't arbitrarily define anti-American and then just deport people on those grounds. You need some sort of actual legitimate reason. And that's the problem.
Difficult 104 days, but we also have a path ahead of us. This is not over, and we will have to continue to support this case. And I also want to thank, I know we have representatives from Senator Schumer's office and others, because everybody agrees, everyone agrees that the persecution based on political speech is wrong, and it is a violation of all of our First Amendment rights.
Yeah, to the Trump supporter in chat who keeps arguing, do you disagree with that persecution based on political speech is wrong? Shouldn't. Black Chris Turner, thank you, Diane. Lisa says, you don't want to do politics. What do you want to do? I don't want to actually run. I don't want to, I don't know if I'd run for office. I'm still very young. I couldn't even run for Congress if I wanted to yet. So I think the media, I think I have really good skills for this certain media environment.
Not just Mahmoud's. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And a lot of times when people in social media actually try to run, it ends up being like, oof, I've seen a lot of these campaigns pop up and then, you know, drop off immediately. So sometimes it's good not to just like overstep your boundaries, especially when I'm, you know, still very early in my career. But yes, Chicago is very, very hot today. Thank God Mahmoud Khalil got released. Yeah, and I'm wondering where Chris Turner in chat went. I mean, maybe Chris Turner genuinely understood. Here's the thing. I was being kind of an asshole to Chris Turner at first, but then I genuinely explained. The problem that comes when you deport people for being quote unquote anti-American is that that's so arbitrary. That's like meaningless. Anti-American doesn't have a real definition. That changes. What I think is anti-American could be different from what you think is anti-American. You could think anti-American is hating guns. I could think anti-American means denying elections, which I would say it is. So, I mean, we can't just deport people for personal definitions of what anti-American is, because then if the next Democratic administration begins to come in and say, you're anti-American, or what if the next administration is Republican and they have a different definition? It doesn't matter. It's just not a slope that you want to begin going down. Yeah, and someone says, Adam, you're wasting your time feeding the trolls, but I disagree. I don't think I'm feeding the trolls. I think that was actually a pretty solid, rational explanation to something that a lot of Trump supporters say. That dude wasn't trolling me. Chris Turner wasn't trolling. He was genuinely disagreeing with me and saying that he thinks Mahmoud should be deported because he's anti-American. That wasn't just a troll. That was a dude who was genuinely disagreeing. And I think that we did a good job. I mean, I think that's a good explanation.
And I'm never
Mahmoud Khalil is free. The first thing he said he did was hugged his wife and child.
My priority now is to get to my beautiful wife and precious son. We need to do that as soon as possible. And I mean, although justice prevailed, but it's long, very long overdue, and this shouldn't have taken 3 months. I leave some incredible men behind me, over 1,000 people behind.
Yo, that is an insane amount of time, though, for real. Like, I wanna take a really, like, here's what I want to say. Israel and Palestine is a uniquely hot issue, and I know people in chat will have different views on different sides, but I don't care which side you're on. It should not be okay to jail somebody for 100 days in America, kind of deprive them access to legal counsel, and then just release them, admitting that they did nothing wrong, and then doing it all on the grounds of political speech. It doesn't matter what side you support. Arresting somebody for political speech is wild.
Behind me, in a place where they shouldn't have been, in that place, in the first place. I hope the next time that I will be in Jena is to actually visit this museum that's a testimony on America's racist.
Yeah, especially at a university. A university is a place for diversity of thought. If you're going to arrest people for being extreme on one issue, then also arrest every single Nazi or white supremacist on a university. I don't agree with any of those ideologies, but once we start just arresting people in America, we also have some news that Donald Trump's approval rating is underwater in 15 different states that he won. Donald Trump's approval rating is currently underwater in 15 states he flew to victory in. The latest polls are saying that he has a lot of vulnerabilities in key battlegrounds such as Michigan, -11, Nevada, -12, North Carolina, -8, Wisconsin, -13, Arizona, he's 12 points underwater. Pennsylvania, 12 points, Georgia, 6 points underwater. Trump's net approval rating, the percentage of voters who approve of him minus those who disapprove, is firmly negative. Here's the thing. I know this is celebratory, but this doesn't automatically mean Democrats are popular. The Democratic Party is still quite unpopular, and I could go on for hours about why I think that is. Maybe I should do a whole stream about why I think that is. Maybe that's the next stream. Beyond the swing states, Trump is also underwater in other states he carried in 2024, including Texas, Ohio, and Utah, and these were taken before he kind of got us involved in a brand new war. Directly got us involved in a brand new war. Israel claims killing of Iranian commanders as conflict enters its second week. Trump returns to the White House and is set to meet with his national security team after returning from his estate in Bedminster, New Jersey. Trump did not speak to reporters. He walked off. He's also set to hold another meeting with his national security team tomorrow. But let me remind you, he's been pushing He's been pushing out Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, and others. Midnight Cat, that is a great point of view. Thank you. Thank you, Midnight Cat. Midnight Cat said something really mature in chat regarding Mahmoud Khalil. He said, I don't agree with his philosophies, but they had no business jailing him for sharing them. Absolutely true. That's what any normal American should say. That's what I was saying. Even if you disagree with him to the fullest extent and you're on the other side of the spectrum, that shouldn't matter. You don't want like college students or activists being arrested for simply being activists, because college campuses are the place to speak your mind. And somebody earlier in chat said like anti-Semitism doesn't exist. I disagree. Anti-Semitism totally exists. There was a firebombing a few weeks ago, and somebody was literally targeting elderly Jewish people, only targeting elderly Jewish people. If you're going to be balanced on an issue and try to advocate for one side, you have to be able to admit that anti-Semitism does exist. You can't bury your head in the sand. Anti-Semitism is totally a problem. And I have like family in the Middle East right now. Yeah, that's what I'm saying right now. No, when you say anti-Zionism is different, when I'm talking about Boulder, Colorado, and like Jewish people being targeted, when I'm talking about elderly Jewish people being targeted with firebombs by somebody who wrote a manifesto, that's not anti-Zionism. That's insane to say. You can't say that. I'm sorry. But it's not fair to also extrapolate that on everybody. Erdogan says Turkey is ready to facilitate dialogue between Iran and the United States. That's exactly what I want. Why don't we get Vladimir Putin in there too? Turkey's president, Erdogan, on Saturday reaffirmed Ankara's commitment to help bring about to an end of the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran. Midas Cheryl. Always love you being here. Chris Turner is watching us right now, just judging. Following a meeting with Iran's foreign minister in Turkey, Erdogan said that, quote, various diplomatic efforts have been undertaken to end the clashes and return to dialogue. I mean, Erdogan is kind of implicitly saying he doesn't think Trump can really do it. Yeah, not all Israelis agree with Bibi. Exactly, and it would be a mistake to think that. In the same way that you can't look at the average American and just see them as a Trump supporter. The average American, I wouldn't say the average American is a Trump supporter, probably apolitical, but there are many, many Americans who disagree in the same way that many people even living in Israel don't like Netanyahu's government. Iranian government spokesperson says negotiations will be meaningless if attacks continue. So, like, here's the thing that keeps happening, I feel like. Trump is trying to get Iran to negotiate. He's not really bringing anything to the table. But in the process, Israel keeps yanking Trump away from the negotiation table by dropping more bombs. 77 million Trump voters? Yeah, but weren't there 77 million Biden voters as well? And this is the core point that I want to make. This is perhaps the final point that I want to make of the stream. I know that we've covered a lot of stories. I try to keep these streams compact, concise. We jumped from Iran to Trump golfing during this and escalating. We talked a little bit about the media environment. We talked about Elon Musk, all of these things, and I'm glad we did. But I do want to loop back around and end this off by talking about how this started and where we are. One of the main reasons that Israel did this preemptive strike, is what they call it, is because they're claiming that Iran is currently developing nuclear bombs. Now, the intelligence on that, we'll cover that later in a different stream. But none of this would have happened in the first place if Trump wouldn't have literally shredded the Iran nuclear deal that was negotiated by Obama in 2015. Iran is open to a pact similar to the 2015 nuclear deal to end the current conflict, says the foreign minister. Iran could reach an agreement similar to the 2015 nuclear deal to end its current conflict with Israel. But it's like Trump continues to do this over and over. Someone in chat said Netanyahu seems crazy like Trump. Netanyahu has a lot of Trumpian tactics. They're both kind of holding on to power so they don't go to jail. We could definitely say that. But Netanyahu, I'd say, is like kind of like just a terrible person. But okay, to continue. Trump tore up a deal with South Korea and said he was going to make a better trade deal. What he does is he tears up deals and he pieces them back together with shitty-ass tape. Obama negotiated a trade deal with South Korea in 2014. The South Korean trade deal had free trade, essentially. We had a great trade deal with them. South Korea was our ally. We helped them sprout a democracy from a dictatorship. South Korea was our ally. So, Donald Trump, I'm not going to say nukes. Donald Trump shreds that deal. He shreds that deal with South Korea and says, I'm going to come up with a better one. After months and months and months of nothing happening, still nothing has happened. Donald Trump claimed he arrived at a deal with South Korea, but it's essentially just going to be the same exact deal that was cut with Obama, except it hasn't happened. Now, the key difference is Obama's deal was actually passed and ratified through Congress. Trump's deal is just an on-the-whim piecing together of whatever Obama did. Therefore, Trump is shredding up perfectly good deals and then recreating them in a worse way. This brings me on to this. Iran is open to a pact similar to the 2015 nuclear deal to end the current conflict, Foreign Minister says. The art of the deal, more like the art of the kneel. That's the one we should go with. The art of the kneel, because this dude is on his knees. Iran could reach an agreement similar to the 2015 nuclear deal to end the conflict. Quote, it's clear the Israelis are against diplomacy and do not want the current crisis to be resolved peacefully, says Abbas. We are, however, prepared to reach a negotiated solution similar to the one we reached in 2015. Who here is somewhere where it's like hot as hell? It is about 93 degrees in Chicago. Or it was the last time I checked. It was 93 degrees earlier. Whoa. Listen to this article I just got. One second. Scientists warn that greenhouse gas accumulation is accelerating and more extreme weather will come. That's weird. I was just talking about the weather. Humans are on track to release so much greenhouse gas in less than 3 years that a key threshold for limiting global warming will nearly be unavoidable, according to a new study. The report predicts that society will have emitted enough carbon dioxide by early 2028 that crossing an important long-term temperature boundary will be more likely than not. Wow. Seems not good. At least we have like a calm, steady-handed leader in America that will pull us back from the brink, right? Hopefully. Maybe. I'm going to leave it at that. The key point is Trump keeps tearing up trade deals and then trying to recreate them in a shitty way. Elon Musk is currently crashing out because he's like the ex-girlfriend that got, pushed out. We are going to continue building Mockler Media on a day-to-day basis. We're adding contributors like Chris. We're adding contributors like Aria. And just imagine it. Imagine a network of contributors and imagine an audience, diverse of any ages, a diverse audience, and we just are injecting the truth in order to counter the MAGA lies. Like Caroline Levitt spews 100 lies a day. Elon Musk, 200 lies a day. Stephen Miller, 300. And we're going to be on top of it pushing back. So if you want to join the mission, you can subscribe below, become a member, drop a like at the very least. I love you all. You guys are the best. These streams are the best. We'll see you guys.